Peace and blessings, family. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to day one of the Pressure Purge Challenge. And bear with me while I make sure that our visuals and our audio is all together. That way I can ensure that we have a nice smooth session as we break down the details of this challenge and get into day one. So I will definitely want to welcome all you guys for showing up and participating in this journey to correcting blood pressure issues. And if you can hear me clearly and you can see me clearly, put a 1 inside of the chat. That way I can make sure that you guys can hear and see properly. That way we don't have any interruptions as we move forward. So if you can hear me clearly and you can see me clearly without any issues, put a 1 inside of the chat and we could go ahead and dive right into day one of this Pressure Purge Challenge. All right, so what I have laid out in front of me, I have the 7-Day Pressure Purge ebook. So if you have a second device, feel free to pull up the ebook here. That way, as I read through it and go through some of the details of it, you can kind of follow along if you like. That way you can, it just helps when it comes down to understanding. If you're listening to something and you're reading it as well, you kind of process the information a lot better. So if you have your ebook, if you have another device, feel free to pull it up. And we're going to go ahead and dive into day one of the Pressure Purge Challenge. So even before we even get into day one, I want to do a quick recap because the Pressure Purge Challenge is part 2 of the 6-part blood pressure series. Last week we were doing the 7-Day Fruit and Salad Challenge, and we got some really great results. Many individuals that were participating, they got some great results. We saw those blood pressure numbers come down. The scale was moving in the right direction. We saw a lot of improvements in many different areas, but we have to understand that this is a process and we must continue to turn over every stone when it comes down to getting to the root cause of our blood pressure issues. For many people, they saw some great results, but we got to just continue to build our body up to become more resilient to the point where we're able to manage our health, or our body's able to manage its blood pressure properly. That way we can start, we're able to get our blood pressure medications reduced and ultimately eliminated. So going step by step through this journey is one of the best it's one of the best ways to help you correct your blood pressure issues. Oh, waste some water. So week one, part one, we went through the 7-Day Fruit and Salad Challenge. Now the main objective moving forward, you want to make sure that you're applying the same strategies from week 1 7-Day Fruit and Salad Challenge, while also implementing the new strategies that we're going to talk about and break down during the Pressure Purge Challenge. So it's all about gradual progression. You want to gradually progress in the right direction by implementing the different tactics and strategies along the journey. So you got the strategies from the 7-Day Fruit and Salad Challenge, the 3 to 5 servings of fresh fruits per day. You also have the ebook where it breaks down a different variety of fruits and vegetables that you can consume, as well as understanding the different vitamins and minerals that are essential for helping you regulate your blood pressure. We understood that we have the potassium, the magnesium, the calcium, sodium, zinc, antioxidants, and all those things that are part of the regulation process. Making sure you're eating enough whole foods is key. So we're going to build on that 3 to 5 servings of fresh fruits and vegetable strategies and move forward to the Pressure Purge Challenge, where we're going to start pulling out the problematic foods. Now, this is one of the biggest stages in these series of challenges of removing the things that are causing the problem. One thing that we have to remember is that healing begins with subtraction. You have to first subtract or remove the problematic foods in order for your body to release and eliminate properly, because those problematic foods are continuously burdening the body, and this is where a lot of the blood pressure issues are stemming from. So if we remove these problematic foods, our body can now build on itself, and this will allow for us to progress while also cleansing our body and allowing for the body to become a lot more resilient. So the Pressure Purge Challenge, we're going to dive into it right now. Now we're going to understand these problematic foods, as well as understand the substitutions that we can consume that's going to allow us to continue to move in a health promoting direction. So what I'm going to do, waste water on my screen. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go to chapter 1 and we're going to break down how this challenge is working. So remember, we're going to continue with the strategies from last week, and now we're going to move into the next strategy, understand how the challenge works. That way we can make sure that we're dialing in and locking in into the, this process. So I'm going to chapter 1. So how the challenge works. Number one, you want to familiarize yourself with the restricted ingredients. So remember, this part is all about removing. So you want to make sure you understand exactly what you're going to be removing, and we're going to go through all these different categories and break them down. The challenge centers around eliminating certain ingredients from your diet. These include salt, oils, refined sugars, caffeine, coffee, alcohol, and excessive animal-based products. Take some time to understand which foods commonly contain these ingredients that you consume and make a list for reference. So salt, oil, refined sugars, caffeine, coffee, alcohol, and excessive consumption of animal-based products. Those are the things that you're going to work on removing from your diet through the course of this week. Now, we're going to talk about the different challenges you may face during this process, but most importantly, I want you guys to understand exactly why you're going to be removing these things from the diet. I don't want you just to do this because I said so or because it's part of the challenge. I want you to understand why you're doing this. That way you can better document your journey. You can better understand how the removal of these things is impacting your body. And most importantly, you're able to listen to your body language and understand the next step to move forward through this process. Because as you release or reduce the burden on the body, your body is going to speak to you in many different ways, whether it's a bowel movement, whether it's loss in weight, improved energy, better sleep. It's going to showcase itself, and documenting your journey is going to help you understand how to move forward and how these challenges and strategies are assisting you. So familiarize yourself with the restricted items. Number two, you want to start by reducing the animal-based products that you're consuming. So the excessive consumption of animal-based products is one of the biggest things that are burdening people with blood pressure issues, largely because it has a lot to do with saturated fats, the oils, and the preparation process. So understanding by gradually or reducing or eliminating the consumption of your animal-based products during this process, this is going to open up the pathways of elimination a lot more, and this is going to allow for you to continue to progress, and it's going to help many people accelerate the results that they're going to experience. So begin the challenge by reducing your consumption of animal-based products. Aim to limit it to just one serving per day or eliminate it completely. So you don't have to eliminate it completely from your diet, although if you do, you will see better results along this journey, but aim to have just one serving of animal-based products per day. And this is gonna be how you allow your body to continue to move in the right direction. During the challenge, your meal should not contain any added salts. Be mindful of hidden sodium in processed foods and sauces. Instead, focus on enhancing flavors with herbs, spices, natural seasonings, alternatives like lemon juice or vinegar. Now, when we get to the salt section today, we're gonna understand what our substitutions are, most importantly, because you don't wanna just go cold turkey and just stop consuming salt, because you're gonna feel the detoxification effects from it. You're gonna feel the lack of stimulation, and to be honest, it's not pleasant. It's a whole withdrawal effect that comes with that. So understanding how to properly go through this process, which we're gonna break down, is gonna help you through this challenge to make the necessary adjustments. Number 4, say no to oils. Cooking with oils is off limit during the challenge. Instead, opt for alternative cooking methods such as steaming, boiling, baking, or grilling without oil. Utilize non-stick pans or use a small amount of water or vegetable broth for sauteing. So eliminating oils is another part of this process. No oils can be used through this process. That's oil in your salad dressings, oil inside of store-bought items, oil for any particular reason. No oil. Doesn't matter what type of oil it is. Try your best to eliminate your oil consumption, because this is going to help you on this journey. And through this process, we're going to go through all these different areas. That way you can understand why. I'm a firm believer that if you understand why you're doing something and the impact it's going to have on you, you're more likely to stick with it. Because I don't want you to just do it because I said so. Understand the science behind it. Understand the journey that you're on. And again, this is just an indefinite period that you're going through this process. Going through this process of elimination for an indefinite period of time is going to allow you to see and experience and feel the differences in your body as you're healing. This is a healing journey that you're on. So going through this process and acknowledging and focusing on the different steps that are lined out for you is going to be the way you get to the root cause of your blood pressure issues. Number 5, cut out refined sugars. Remove all refined sugars from your diet for the duration of the challenge. This includes white sugar, high fructose corn syrup, and artificial sweeteners. Satisfy your sweet tooth with natural sugars found in fresh fruits, or small amounts of natural sweeteners like maple syrup or even honey if you have. Those are going to be fine for you. But all processed and refined sugars have to go. Doesn't matter where it's coming from, get rid of it. So no processed foods with added sugars in it, no snack foods, no junk foods, all those little items we tend to snack on here and there. We should be eliminating them through this process. And for some people, it may be difficult, but understanding what's important. You want to get off the pharmaceutical medications, or you want to have a little Debbie snack. You got to pick one. You can't have the best of both worlds. And especially when you're in this, or you're on this healing journey, you got to give something up in order to get to where you want to be. So this challenge is going to help you understand how to do this and maneuver through this process to get to the other side. Because I can guarantee you, when you get to the other side where you're able to bring your blood pressure down and get control of it and understand the different pathways that you had to go, you're not going to risk your health for a slice of cake. You're not going to risk your health for, a piece of processed or junk food, because you're understanding how these things are impacting you. And if you're on multiple medications and you're trying to wean it down and get off of them, understand that this is an important part of the process. Do not fall under the trap of moderation. Moderation is one of the worst things that you can do when it comes down to your dietary habits. A lot of doctors preach moderation. They eat this in moderation or have this in moderation. Moderation looks different for everyone. So understanding what's moderate to me is different for you. It's different for her or them. So understanding moderation is some of the worst advice, because if you're dealing with the problem and you're trying to correct it, you shouldn't have anything that can compromise your health. So we're not going to be focusing on moderation. We're going to try to get as close to elimination as possible, and we're going to work our way through this process. Number 6, avoid caffeine from all sources and coffee as well. Say goodbye to caffeine and coffee during the challenge. This includes not only coffee, but also any teas that are caffeinated, energy drinks, and other caffeinated beverages. Opt for herbal teas or caffeine-free alternatives if desired. So this is another big step. A lot of people like to have some type of coffee or stimulant first thing in the morning. You have to be mindful of the caffeine that's there, because there's a lot of individuals that their blood pressure is higher than it should be simply because of the excessive caffeine consumption that they're consuming. So when you eliminate this pathway that's possibly contributing to blood pressure issues, your body will respond, and you can see if this is a potential trigger that's triggering you. So eliminating all caffeine and coffee is going to be a really big part of the process. Number 7, no artificially sweetened beverages as well. Any artificially sweetened beverages are not allowed. Steer clear of any diet sodas, artificial fruit drinks, and other artificially sweetened beverages. Stick to water, herbal teas, or unsweetened beverages for hydration. Now, all natural fruit juices are going to be okay, like, maybe a fresh pressed juice that don't have any additives or preservatives, or like a fresh juice that you may squeeze yourself. All those are great to have, but nothing that's artificially sweetened. Doesn't matter what type of sweetener that they use. Try to eliminate all artificial sweeteners, and we're going to explain exactly why as we get through this process. Number 8, stay away from processed foods. Say no to processed foods throughout this challenge. Say no to processed foods throughout this challenge. These include packaged snacks, frozen meals, fast food, and prepackaged sauces. Instead, focus on consuming whole foods that are fresh, unprocessed, and free of added ingredients. One of the major points that we made, one of the major things that we talked about in our last challenge were the store-bought salad dressings that are highly processed, that are filled with salt, oil, and sugar that directly impact your blood pressure and your overall health. So understanding this, the salad dressings and the sauces that we tend to consume are going to be big parts of it. And if you when you signed up and you purchased the high blood pressure meal plan, that contains a lot of different options that you can use for substitutions when it comes down to any sauces or salad dressings and other things, because again, This is a big part of this process, eliminating these processed foods, these salad dressings, and these store-bought things that are filled with preservatives, salts, oils, and sugars that are part of the reason we're dealing with some of these blood pressure issues. So stay away from processed foods through this cycle. Number 9, we're going to emphasize fresh fruits and vegetables, and this part is directly reflecting to part 1 of the 6-part challenge. So the 3 to 5 servings of fresh fruits and fresh vegetables, 3 to 5 servings of fresh fruits and 1 large salad, rather. That's how we're going to continue to add that into our diet. 3 servings of fresh fruits, 1 large salad. We're going to add that to our diet and continue to emphasize on that, because when we consume these foods, we're going to eat them in their raw form, and what's going to happen is it's going to give our body an influx of nutrients, the potassium, the magnesium, the antioxidants, all the things that our bodies need to continue to build itself up to help us with these blood pressure issues. So understanding that these nutrients, our body still needs them. So we're going to continue with that first strategy from the fruit and salad challenge and build on it by removing all of those other problematic items. Because what's going to happen is when you remove those problematic foods and you start implementing those, and you continue to implement those health promoting foods, now your body is reducing its burden and you're giving it the building blocks to continue to get better with. And what happens is those old damaged cells that are out of shape and not able to do their job the way that they need to, those cells are either broken down or destroyed or rejuvenated, and now they're able to function at a higher level, and they're going to help you when it comes to regulating your blood pressure at a higher level. So understanding that you want to make sure that you're adding those building blocks to this cycle, and this is going to help you get to the root cause of the problem. So include 3 to 5 servings of fresh fruits in your daily meals. These natural sources of vitamins, minerals, and fiber will help nourish your body. Additionally, have a large salad once a day filled with a variety of colorful vegetables, leafy greens, and a light homemade dressing. Remember, this challenge is designed to help you identify and eliminate foods that have a negative impact on blood pressure. Embrace the opportunity and explore new ingredients and get creative in the kitchen and nourish your body with wholesome, blood pressure friendly choices. And pretty much that leads us into getting into the further details of the whys of why we're going to do this. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip over chapter 2, because chapter 2 is more so breaking down what disease is and how it manifests. But we're going to go right into chapter 3, and this is going to take us to understanding salt or sodium. And last challenge we did break this down a little bit, but now we're going to go into further details about it. But most importantly, we're going to go over those strategies that's going to allow you to reduce your sodium intake to help close down this pathway. So before we even get started, I want you to understand as well, I say this in a lot of my cooking videos that I have, sodium or salt is not always the problem with it's not always the cause of high blood pressure. So we have to understand that. Although sodium plays a direct role in managing in your blood pressure process, it isn't always the cause for a lot of people. If most people that do have blood pressure issues, they have some form of sodium sensitivity, but it's not for everybody. But the main thing you have to understand through this process is this. Your goal is to dot every I and cross every T to make sure you understand if it is or if it isn't. So you must go through this process in order to highlight the effects that it's having on your body and allow for your body to inform you of what's going on and what direction you need to go. My main point of one of the main things you get from this process is your body's going to tell you what's happening. It's going to either respond in your blood pressure, it's going to respond with you losing weight or losing that water weight that you may be holding on to, but it's going to tell you what's next. But I highly encourage you to make sure you're going through the process with each and every avenue, and that way you can close these things off and be able to understand what pathway that you need to follow. So we're going to start with chapter 3, understanding salt. Then we're going to also do chapter 4 today with understanding oil. So typically it takes about 3 days to go through we're going to take about 3 days to go through this whole cycle. Give or take, it might take 4 depending on how much I talk sometimes, but it should take about 3 days to go through this process, and you just have a good understanding of all these different things. But most importantly, if you missed the video or you have to come back, the videos will be saved and sent out to you guys. That way you can kind of just continue to catch up on your own time. But I do encourage you guys to stay tuned. That way you can just be in the moment and a part of the process as we move forward. So we're gonna begin with salt. Table salt is a mineral compound made up of sodium and chlorine, lacking organic properties. It possesses antibiotic and preservative qualities, but can be lethal to living organisms, despite not commonly being regarded as a poison. Typically, a fatal amount of salt is approximately 4 ounces consumed at once, which is merely 8 times more than the average daily intake. So understanding the classification of salt is very, very important. And I want you to just get an idea of what I mean by this. Okay, when you take salt, and it doesn't matter what type of salt, it could be pink Himalayan salt, it could be sea salt, it could be iodine salt, it could be whatever type of salt. All of them are basically the same at its core. It's a sodium chloride compound that's bonded together. The difference between these other salts, some may have more minerals than others, but they're pretty much the same. But when you look at salt in its natural form, it's basically a poison. Your body responds to it with a poison-like effect. And the easiest way that you can analyze this for yourself is to go in your kitchen cabinet, grab whatever salt that you may have, put a little bit in your hand, and just put it on your tongue, put it on your taste buds, whatever type of salt it is. And what would happen is your body would be like, it's like a rejection. Your body's like, this is bitter. I don't like this. I don't want to consume this. Your body naturally doesn't want to consume salt. And that's because your body knows that it's not good for it. Your body is all knowing. It knows everything it knows everything that it wants, everything that it needs, and it's going to respond, and it's going to give you a response every time you do something, whether it's good or bad, to help you know that, okay, I like this, or no, we don't want to do this anymore. And salt is one of those things that give that negative reaction every time you consume it. So understanding that salt at its core is poisonous to the body. So we have to understand how we're using it and the impact that it's having. Now, the poisonous amount of salt, 4 ounces of salt is enough to send somebody to the hospital and pretty much kill them. If you take a 4-ounce ramekin and consume that, that's enough to kill you. But nobody consumes 4 ounces of salt at a time. That's insane. We all know better than that. But instead, we take a little bit and pinch it on top of everything, and we microdose ourselves with small amounts of poison. That way it doesn't kill us and break our body down immediately. But what happens is, over time, your body starts to respond to those small micro doses of salt that you're giving it. And for some people, it sends the blood pressure through the roof, and it can start contributing to other issues. So this is one pathway that we want to understand. That way we can make the necessary adjustments. Now, by all means, I would suggest that indefinitely, as you go through this process, you should reduce or try to eliminate your sodium consumption to get better control of the problem. If you're on multiple blood pressure medications, 2, 3, 4 different medications, you should be eliminating salt completely. That way you can allow for your body to go through the natural healing and cleansing process. But we're going to talk about the strategies of how to reduce it as we move forward. So typically a fatal amount of salt is approximately 4 ounces consumed at once, which is merely 8 times more the average daily intake. Salt is incredibly prevalent as a seasoning worldwide and can be found in nearly all processed, prepared, or preserved foods. That's why we say no processed foods, because processed foods are very, very high in salt and sodium. It is even included in pet food and baby food. Even without additional salt added at the table, the average American tends to exceed the safe salt level recommended by most nutritionists by more than 6 times. Consequently, there is no level of salt usage that is considered entirely safe. So we're going to examine the 4 common misconceptions that defends the use of salt. Number 1 is the belief that salt is necessary for life. A lot of people believe that you need salt to live. But we're going to break that down. That way you can get a better understanding of it and the role that salt or sodium plays. And remember, salt and sodium are two completely different things. Salt is a bonded form of sodium and chloride, whereas sodium is in all natural living things. So number one is the belief that salt is necessary for life. Number two is the notion that salt enhances the flavor of food. A lot of people believe that salt makes their food taste good. But we got to just understand the chemical process that takes place during that. Because you could get in a big argument when people say, yeah, salt makes everything taste good. But salt itself doesn't taste good. So how does it make something else taste good? But we have to understand the stimulation and the dopamine effect that's happening that triggers these sensations. And the better you understand that, the more you can test things out for yourself and start to understand how much control sodium or salt has over your dietary habits. Because simply reducing it, you will see how your body responds. But we'll get into that in just a second. Number three, the idea that salt aids in digestion. Some people can think that putting a little salt on their tongue helps them with digestion or helps them use the bathroom and things like that. And we're going to get into those stimulating effects. That way you can understand what's actually going on through the process. Number four, the assumption that salt is present in the bloodstream and is therefore an essential component of living organisms. So we'll assess the validity of each of these beliefs, and we're going to start with living without salt. So salt is often defended based on the belief that the body requires certain minerals such as sodium and chlorine, which are assumed to be provided by table salt crystals. However, the truth is salt cannot fulfill these mineral needs. While sodium is crucial for maintaining water balance, supporting nervous system functioning, and aiding in digestive juice formation, and chlorine contributes to normal heart activity, acid-alkaline balance, digestion, and elimination, salt itself cannot be utilized by the body to meet these requirements. So understanding that, yes, your body does need salt, and yes, your body needs sodium as well. But salt and sodium, again, it's a bonded compound that's together. And our bodies, especially those of us that are dealing with these blood pressure issues, sometimes it can be a little difficult for the body to break it down at the rate that it needs to, and it can contribute to some complications. So we're going to dive into it a little bit more. Salt in its sodium chloride form is an inorganic mineral that the body cannot metabolize. It enters, circulate, and leaves the body unchanged. It does not break down into its constituent elements of sodium and chlorine for utilization by the body. The bonded sodium chloride molecule is highly stable and cannot be broken down in the digestive tract or by the liver. On the other hand, the body can utilize organic sodium and organic chlorine found in living foods like fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, and things like that. But it cannot make use of inorganic sodium chloride. If salt cannot be broken down or utilized by the body, and if it only exits the body in the same form as it enters, then it raises the question of how can it be deemed necessary for life. Additionally, salt consumption is a relatively recent practice in the timeline of human existence. Primitive humans and many cultures throughout history did not consume salt, and there are countless individuals today, including health-conscious individuals, who abstain from consuming any salt as well. So understanding, mostly in the old days, they used salt as a form of money. They used it and exchanged it in different ways, but we're not going to get too deep in that. But we want to go back into how the body doesn't necessarily break down its sodium and where it goes or what happens. So when you consume salt, a number of things happen. But most importantly, when your body is overrun or has high levels of sodium, now the body has to do something with it because there's only so much that the kidneys can excrete at a time. So now your body has to place it and store it places in order to get it out of the bloodstream. And one of the places that the body stores it is up under the layer of skin, right up under your skin all throughout your body. And one way that you know and understand this is that if you ever go out in the sun and you exercise and work out and you start sweating and maybe the sweat run into your mouth accidentally and you taste it and your sweat tastes salty, that's a sign where your body's trying to eliminate the excess amount of sodium that you may be holding on to. The process of you sweating is another form of elimination that releases this excess amount of sodium. So through your sweat is one way. You just feel it, you taste it when it comes out through your sweat. Your tears can be salty as well as like when you start to perspire, you're like, if you got like, sometimes people have those like yellow marks up under their clothes or their neck rings. Those are all signs of the excess amount of sodium that's inside of the body that's trying to make its way out. So understanding that your body cannot eliminate it at the rate in which it's coming in. And this can potentially be a problem for some people. And that's why going through the pathway of eliminating it through this journey will allow for your body to reduce its sodium levels and start to bring back balance to the mineral levels, because salt and potassium, let me rephrase that, sodium and potassium have a direct relationship when it comes to managing your blood pressure. They work in oppositions. And what happens is when the sodium levels start to rise, this has an impact on how this has an impact on how the potassium performs when it comes to managing the blood pressure. So when you reduce the sodium levels, and you continue to eat those health promoting foods, those 3 to 5 servings of fresh fruits and 1 large salad, you reduce the sodium levels and you increase the potassium levels, and that helps bring that balance that's going to help you with managing your blood pressure. So understand that you have to be able to release any excess sodium that you may be holding on to in order to close down this pathway and allow for the elimination process to continue. Some people try to skip over the hump and be like, oh, well, I need my salt. I like to salt this and do that. You got to just pick out what's important, because the main thing is it's an indefinite period of time. For some people, they could get it right in 7 days. Some, I've seen it go as far as 60 days. But the main thing is everyone's journey looks different. And if your goal is to get off of the medication, get off of the drugs, understanding that this is something that you want to identify and highlight to help you move through this process. Where we at? Here we go. The body does not rely on salt for essential mineral needs, and historical and contemporary examples demonstrate that a salt-free diet is viable and practiced by many individuals. The next one, the illusion of salt as a flavor enhancer, because again, most people think that salt makes everything taste good. It's a stimulant. It affects the body in different ways, but most importantly, the dopamine effect that it has is what triggers individuals to thinking that this enhances flavor, but actually it does a number of things to the taste buds. So even when people acknowledge that salt lacks nutritional value, which it does, most salt doesn't have any nutritional value outside of some that has, those different minerals in it. They often defend its use by claiming that it enhances flavor to food. The common justification of consuming salt is salt makes my food taste much better. But does salt truly add flavor? Take a pinch of salt and taste it. We talked about that earlier. Just take a pinch of salt and taste it. Does it have a distinct flavor that is appetizing or pleasant? No, salt itself doesn't taste good. So how could something that doesn't taste good actually make something else taste good? It doesn't necessarily work that way. And that's why we get into the stimulation effect. The truth is, salt doesn't actually add any flavor. It works by irritating the taste buds on your tongue. Through a chemical reaction, salt inflames the tongue, making the taste buds more sensitive. It's like burning off the skin on your hand to increase finger sensitivity. Have you ever noticed how a sore or an inflamed spot on your skin is more sensitive than the surrounding areas? Salt does the same thing to your taste buds, and it makes them more sore and hypersensitive. So with this hypersensitivity that comes from the salt that you're consuming, this allows for the flavors of the other food items that you're consuming to be enhanced. So let's think about an item like, let's say, a chicken breast. Like if you have a regular chicken breast, let's say you cook it, you grill it, but you don't put anything on it. You don't season it. You don't add anything to it. And have you ever just tasted a chicken breast with nothing on it? That chicken breast is as bland. It doesn't taste like anything, and it's not pleasant. If you go out to a restaurant and you order a food item and it's not, if you order a piece of meat and it's not salted or seasoned properly, most people send it right back and say, yeah, this doesn't taste good, and send it back. But that's because the natural flavors of these items are not there. They don't taste like anything. They're not something that appeals to our taste buds. So in turn, we add these other items, this salt to it, and we think that it enhances our flavor, enhances the flavor, but in actuality, it starts to irritate our taste buds, and it allows for those other flavors to be exposed a lot more. And this is where we start to see the consumption or the overconsumption of different items. Same thing, you could take a bowl of rice and you put salt, take 2 bowls of rice, you put salt in one of them, and the other one you don't have anything in it. The bowl with the salt, the bowl with the salt, you're gonna end up eating a lot more of it because it's gonna be very stimulating. And that high level of stimulation is gonna release the dopamine effect, and you're gonna enjoy it a lot more, and you're gonna continue to consume more and more and more of it. Whereas the rice without the salt, you're not gonna just continue to knock it down or eat so much of it after you had your fair share of it, because there's no added stimulation with eating it. It's just the textures and the flavors, the natural flavors that's there. So we have to understand that salt is a stimulant that, one, causes us to overeat, two, it has a direct impact on the blood pressure, and it can trigger a number of things. So understanding how to shut down this pathway will allow for us to analyze how it's impacting our blood pressure and be able to move forward. And that's the most important part. Understanding what's going on, how it's impacting our blood pressure, and understanding how or what steps you need to do to continue to move forward. Because again, everyone's issue is not directly related to sodium or salt, but you have to be willing to go through the process. You have to be willing to go through the journey. And it's in a definite period of time. Again, you don't have to go the rest of your life without salt. But if you plan on getting to the root cause of the problem, you should forego it for a couple of weeks to see exactly what's happening or what's going on, because you will get a better understanding. And the best part about it is, after a couple days, maybe 7, 21 days, give or take, your taste buds start to change. They start to dumb down a little bit. And now it's like, yeah, too much salt. Now you're overstimulated by the regular, a small amount of salt will overstimulate you to the point where it's like, oh no, I can't eat that anymore because it's too much. Because right now, a lot of times our taste buds are so perverted because of the foods that we're consuming that's highly stimulating. But when you release them or reduce them, when you eliminate or reduce them from your diet, especially during a 7-day process, your taste buds start to change and you start to enjoy the natural flavors of food without that overstimulation. And this is how the body starts to respond and change to help you make the necessary dietary adjustments. Where we at? Here we go. I lost my spot. Okay, so as a result, you may perceive heightened taste stimulation, but you're not actually experiencing an increased amount of true flavor of food. Salt is incapable of adding flavor or anything else to your food. It's a chemical compound. A chemical compound cannot provide you or your food with anything extra, except perhaps some irritating stimulation that is mistakenly interpreted as flavor. So that's what we just broke down. So is salt essential for the bloodstream? Many individuals think that salt is in the bloodstream and we need it. So we need the salt, we need the sodium and all these things. The presence of salt in the blood has led people to believe that consuming it is necessary for maintaining healthy blood. Indeed, there are various mineral salts, including sodium chloride, found in the blood. However, does this prove that table salt is an indispensable component of the bloodstream? In the case of individuals who have consistently consumed excessive amounts of salt throughout their lives, there's a constant circulation of sodium chloride in their bloodstream. The reason for salt being present in the bloodstream is that the body is continuously attempting to eliminate it from the system. And this goes back to where I just broke down how the kidneys can only excrete so much sodium at a time. That for the average individual, let's say an average working class person, someone that has a office job, they work a 9 to 5, they don't do a whole lot of exercising, that individual needs anywhere between 300 to 500 milligrams of sodium per day to function at optimum levels. The standard American diet can contain upwards of 3,000 to 4,000 milligrams of sodium each and every day with the foods that people typically consume. And that overconsumption of sodium continues to build up inside of the body. And your lifestyle, let's say you're not moving enough, so you're not sweating and releasing or eliminating in other ways, this sodium continues to build up. So we see the excess amount of sodium or salt inside of the bloodstream. And not only is it in the bloodstream, again, it's stored under the skin in many different areas because the body has to get it out of the bloodstream in order to prevent sodium concentration. And what happens a lot of time when you have so much sodium stored up in the body, your body has to hold on to water to help prevent sodium concentration as well. So now, not only is your body storing the sodium in other places, now your body has to hold on to excess water, which is going to make you all bloated. It's going to put on this extra water weight in different pockets around you, all because of the excessive sodium consumption. And one thing that you will experience as you go through this process, eliminating salt from your diet, you're going to see your weight drop. That's a fact. You're going to see your scale move 5 to 10 pounds in a week simply because that sodium is going out, and everywhere sodium goes, water follows. So if sodium is going and getting stored up under the skin, water is going right up under there with it. But if you go and make the necessary changes, eliminate that excess sodium that's coming in, that water is going to be eliminated right with that, and that scale is going to come down, and a number of things begin to happen as well. And one of those is the reduction in blood volume, because with that excess amount of sodium in the bloodstream, the water comes in, and now you have a larger amount of your blood volume increases. And with the increase in blood volume, your heart has to now pump harder in order to get the blood through the cardiovascular system. And now with the heart pumping harder, the blood pressure goes up, and this is one of those things that's contributing to the increase in blood pressure that a lot of people are experiencing. So shutting down this pathway allows for you to reduce the sodium, reduce the water retention, and relax the blood vessels and increase those potassium levels through the consumption of these whole foods, and you'll start to see balance in this pathway. And for many individuals, this one thing can correct the problem. It's as simple as that. But it's all about understanding each and every method, because again, there's many different things that can contribute to blood pressure issues, but going along the pathway is going to be how you get to the root cause of the problem. Boom. On average, our kidneys can excrete approximately 200 milligrams of salt per day, which is roughly the amount that can be placed on the tip of a sharp knife. But again, your kidneys excrete 200 milligrams of salt per day, but the standard American diet is giving you anywhere between 3,000 and 4,000 milligrams of salt per day. So that's the overconsumption that's contributing to a lot of these issues. So understanding the different pathways that you need to close out is going to help. However, most individuals often consume 50 times that amount. So where does this excess salt goes? It's stored beneath the skin in different layers. I already broke that down a little bit. And then I think I kind of went through all that already as I just, I talk a lot. So sometimes I just went over it already. So the next one, we're going to move to salt as an antibiotic, because yes, salt is an antibiotic, a natural antibiotic. So understanding when you consume it, remember there's your body is an organism, a living, breathing organism. So when you consume an antibiotic, a number of things happen. So we're going to break down how salt impacts your digestive system, your microbiome, and things like that. So salt has been historically used as an initial method of food preservation. I'm pretty sure everybody knows that. Back in the day when people were traveling, they'll salt their food so that it can last longer, because things with salt on it, the bugs or the bacteria, they tend to stay away from it because it's toxic. They know, oh man, they salted this. The bacteria be like, nah, I don't even want it because I'm not trying to die behind the sodium concentration. So salt has been historically used as an initial method of food preservation. It was observed that when meats and vegetables were salted, the process of decay was significantly reduced. The spoilage of food is often influenced by its water activity level. Food can be either dried to lower its water activity or preserved through salting. Salt affects the water activity in food, thereby inhibiting bacterial growth. In essence, salt acts as an antibiotic. The term antibiotic literally means against life. Salt aligns with the definition as it not only destroys bacteria, but can also harm living cells in the body. If fresh foods are not readily available, there are more effective preservation methods than salting, and this goes into drying food and dehydration and things like that. And those are all different methods that a person can use. But understanding that salt is a natural antibiotic that impacts the body each and every time it comes in. And we have to understand that working as an antibiotic, this salt not only kills the good bacteria in the microbiome or in your gut. It also kills the bad bacteria as well. So the good bacteria, the bad bacteria, everybody dies. And what happens is, based on the quality of the foods that you're consuming, that's what's going to replenish your gut microbiome. So if you're eating processed foods and unhealthy foods that are high in salt, you're killing and destroying all the good bacteria that's in there and replenishing it with unhealthy and disease-causing bacteria as well. And this unhealthy balance leads to a lot of immune issues, health issues overall, and it also contributes to your blood pressure, because these bacteria, when they're in there, they poop and eliminate just like you do. And that poop and elimination could either fuel disease or it can promote health. The bad bacteria that poops and eliminates, it can cause damage in many different areas, cause a lot of oxidative stress. Whereas the good bacteria can poop and create B12 and other different essential vitamins and nutrients that the body needs. So understanding that your gut health plays a direct role, not in just your blood pressure, but your overall health. And when you're consuming an excessive amount of sodium, this continues to destroy your gut health. And the best way to correct this is by simply eliminating the excess amount of sodium through this process and allowing for that balance to come back, because part of the strategy is eliminating the excess amount of sodium, as well as continuing to consume the 3 to 5 servings of fresh fruits and a 1 large salad, just like we broke down in the part 1 with the fruit and salad challenge. Continue with those same strategies, because now you're removing the problem and you're allowing your body to continue to build. Remove the excess sodium that's destroying the healthy gut bacteria, and replenish with the health promoting foods, because the quality of the foods that you consume dictates the bacteria that's going to grow inside of your body. Like if you're a person that craves salty foods, sweet foods, savory foods, and you just have those cravings for like some McDonald's French fries or some Chick-fil-A or whatever processed foods that are out there, that craving's not coming from here. That craving is coming from here. The gut bacteria is telling you what they want to consume, because you've been prone to just consuming these types of foods, and they're looking for that type of stimulation. So your gut brain axis is telling you what it wants. So those cravings come from here, and the way you eliminate those cravings is by making the necessary dietary changes and getting that bad bacteria out, and start building the health promoting bacteria that's going to allow for you to make the necessary adjustments to move forward in the right direction. So again, it's many different things that salt can do that's contributing to the blood pressure issues. But in all, it's all about understanding how it's affecting your health as a whole. Because one thing I like to teach is that if you understand how it impacts your body as a whole, you're able to make a decision for your overall health. And when you improve your overall health, blood pressure issues go away for the majority of people, especially if it's not like a secondary blood pressure issue. These issues go away. 90% of blood pressure issues are all lifestyle and dietary related. That other 10% is hereditary, secondary high blood pressure issues and things like that. So understanding that for the majority of people, the power is in your hand. Understanding what to do, go step by step through the process, and continue to get better. It's all about gradual progression. This process could take you anywhere from a week to 45 days to get the results that you need. Some people might even take 60, but most individuals start to see improvements in 7 days. By 14 days, they down 12, 20 pounds. By the next 30 days, they're a whole nother person, because they've stuck with the program and continue to listen to their bodies. Again, this is not me fixing anything. This is you getting back in alignment. Again, it's all about removing the problem and allowing for the body to tell you what's next. Remove the problem and listen to your body. Just simple as that. Your body's going to tell you everything that you need to know. And understanding how to listen to your body is going to help you get to your end goal, which is to correct your blood pressure issues and reduce your reliance or eliminate completely the need for pharmaceutical medications. So here we go. The final considerations of salt. Hypertension or high blood pressure is a prevalent health condition today and is often associated with coronary heart disease, stroke, congestive heart failure, and kidney disease. We all know that stuff. Let's see. Matter of fact, I'm not even going to go too deep into this because I wrote all this stuff, but it's all the basic stuff that we already understand. One thing that I don't like to do is talk about the stuff that we already know, because when you talk about stuff you already know, it just sounds repetitive, especially in the world of high blood pressure. Yeah, we know we need to do this, we need to do that, heart disease, blah, blah, blah. We understand it sometimes. We for the most part, we understand it. But we want to get into the solutions. That way we can know what to do. So now we're going to talk about how to effectively reduce your sodium consumption, the strategies that you should use. And actually, I should have brought some, I don't think I have it, but I think I'll break it down. But we're going to talk about the strategies that we should use. So the first thing, part of this Pressure Purge challenge was eliminating the processed foods. 80% of the excess sodium that people are consuming comes from processed foods. You have to eliminate processed foods from your diet. There's no way that you're going to be continuously eating processed and refined foods and on a journey to correcting your blood pressure issues. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry to tell you that. And don't think that moderation is key. Moderation is the worst advice anybody can give anyone that's trying to correct something, because that little bit adds up. One bag of chips a week, and you do that for a month, a year, that's 52 bags of chips, and you add up the sodium, it ain't going nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Remember, your body only excretes about 200 milligrams of sodium. You eat a bag of chips might have 800 to 1,000 milligrams of sodium. If it's a bigger bag, it might have 1,000 milligrams of sodium per ounce. So understanding that sits in your body and it's going to impact your process. So moderation is not key. Throw the word moderation out of the window. Don't look at it. Don't think about it no more. Somebody tell you be moderate, tell them to go find something else to do, because you're on a journey to correct your blood pressure issues. You're not trying to manage it. You're trying to get to the root cause of the problem. So eliminating processed and refined foods is going to help you eliminate 80% of the excess sodium that's coming into the body. Now, when it comes down to how you're preparing your food, I want you all to follow this strategy. Now, the first thing you can do, if you're good at just eliminating and just going cold turkey with stuff, that's great. Just like me, I did that for like my first week when I went without salt. It was a bit of a headache. It was a struggle, but I managed it. But then I knew I had to find something else to help me through this process, because I was very irritated through this whole cycle. So I want you guys to follow this strategy. This is going to be the best strategies for all the individuals that are participating, and this is going to allow for you to start to gradually progress with reducing that sodium to the point where you barely need any. So I want you to give yourself a daily allowance of sodium. So, and that's going to be 1 teaspoon. 1 teaspoon of sodium, not the tablespoon. Tablespoon bigger. Remember, you want the teaspoon, a little smaller one. You want to give yourself a daily allowance of sodium. Take a little small ramekin, take that teaspoon, and then I want you to put it inside a ramekin. Now the sodium, excuse me. Now the salt that you're going to consume, try to stay away from table salt. Table salt is one of those salts that it goes bad all around the board. It's probably one of the worst salts you can use. If you're going to use any salt, use the pink Himalayan salt. It's pretty much the same foundation, but it has a lot more minerals and things inside of that. It's pretty much easy to find. You can find it at any store. So get rid of the table salt. Switch to a pink salt during this process. It's going to help you continue. Again, the goal is to eliminate it completely, but if you're still using it, this is going to help you work your way through the process. So grab 1 tablespoon, put it inside a small ramekin, and this is going to be your daily allowance. Now, what's going to happen is when you're preparing your food all throughout the day, the whole 24 hours, you have 1 tablespoon of salt to work with. 1 teaspoon of salt to work with. And what happens is, you don't want to cook with the salt that you have. You don't want to take that teaspoon and pour it inside of the pan while you're cooking and whipping, because one, you need to stretch that out through everything that you're consuming. So what you're going to do is you're going to prepare the food that you have. You're going to prepare the whole dish. And once the dish is completed and you plate it up and put it inside your bowl, then you want to take a nice pinch of it and sprinkle it on top of your food. And you will be surprised by how much less salt that you consume by simply following this method. Reason being, every time you turn on the stove and you start cooking and you throw the salt in the pot and you throw the spices and the herbs inside of the pot, all of it starts to cook off. When you start to smell food cooking on the stove, the aroma that's there, that's the food, that's the flavor cooking out and hitting and going into the air. So the flavor is no longer in the pot, it's in the air and all over, and you smell it traveling throughout the house. So the same thing happens with salt, with sodium. When you add that salt into the pot, it starts to cook off. The flavor cooks off, but the sodium is still there. And that's why you tend to put more salt or use larger amounts every time you're cooking to maintain the flavor. But if you simply stop cooking with salt and wait till you finish cooking and plate your dish up and then sprinkle a little bit on top of it, you will drastically reduce how much salt you're actually consuming. And this is going to help you continue to progress on the journey to ultimately reducing it. And one thing about it is this: that reduction is by simply eliminating processed foods and greatly reducing the amount of sodium that you're consuming. That's enough for a lot of people to see some great results with their blood pressure. And following this strategy is going to help you get to your end goal. You want to just continue with one teaspoon of salt, and divide that up and sprinkle it on top of your meal after you finish. And that's going to be how you gradually progress to reducing your sodium intake. And during this process, your taste buds are going to change as well. Your taste buds are going to adjust to the natural flavors of the food, and the removal of that excess stimulation, because again, that added salt only just adds more stimulation and causes you to eat more and more and more, because you're stimulated and you want more because it tastes so good. But instead, you're going to start to enjoy the natural flavors of the vegetables or the whole grains or whatever it is that you're consuming, and it's going to keep you from over consuming. And now you're going to see where the body starts to respond, and that's going to help you continue to move in the right direction. So switch the type of salt that you're consuming to begin with. Switch from the table salt, go to a pink Himalayan salt. Some people might like to use Celtic or Celtic salt, or whatever you'd like to call it. I don't really care too much for it. But it's really your choice of how you decide to move. To be honest, again, following that strategy with whatever type of salt that you decide to use will allow for you to drastically reduce it, ultimately eliminating it, and your blood pressure will respond. Reason being, again, wherever salt and sodium goes, water follows. And if you're eliminating the salt and getting rid of it, the water is going to go right behind it. Weight's going to come down, blood volume going to come down, blood pressure is going to come down right along with it. So that's going to be your direction with salt. And I'm going to give you one more item. That way you can continue to make this adjustment at an even larger scale. I wish I had some. I probably should have had it. Matter of fact, I'll pick some up tomorrow. That way when we do it class, the second class, I can actually show you guys as well. So the second item, what I like to use, or what I like to suggest, I haven't used any in a while, but what I like to suggest is what's called coconut aminos. And you have coconut aminos and you have liquid aminos. Those are two different things, and one is very high in sodium, and the other one is it still has a small amount of sodium in it, but it's a whole lot better. The liquid aminos is a soy-based product, and it's very, very high in sodium. It's like I want to say like 600 milligrams per teaspoon or something like that. And it's something that you want to try to avoid completely. So don't get them mixed up between the coconut aminos and the liquid aminos. So liquid aminos is the one that you actually want to go. The coconut aminos is the one that you actually want, because it's made from fresh coconuts, and it's like almost 4 times lower in sodium than the liquid aminos kind. The liquid aminos is the Bragg's kind. The coconut aminos is a different version. That's the one that'll be the better option. And what you can do is you can simply follow this same strategy. Finish cooking your food and preparing it, and take the coconut aminos and dab it right on top of your food. And what happens is coconut aminos is a type of marinade. And this type of marinade, it just enhances the flavor of everything that you're consuming with a smaller amount of sodium. It does have sea salt inside of it, but it's a much less than that small, teaspoon that we're pinching from. So understanding that this is another strategy that you can use. Liquid aminos, damn, why I keep saying that? Coconut aminos is the better option. It's lower in sodium than the liquid aminos version, and it can continue to enhance the flavor. That way your food is palatable, and you can continue to make the adjustments. And again, this is another crutch that you can use. This can help you through the process, because again, the ultimate goal is to not need any of these things and allow for your taste buds to change and adjust. That way you can continue to just get better and see how it reflects inside of your blood pressure. So switch the type of salt that you're consuming, eliminate how much you're also consuming to 1 teaspoon per day. Don't put it inside the pot while you're cooking, but sprinkle it on top of your food after you're finished. And this will allow for your taste buds to change, your food to still be palatable, while also drastically removing the excess sodium that may be coming in. So those are all a great strategy that you could use there. And when it comes down to salt, I think for the most part, we've cleared up all the things in between as far as sodium and how it impacts the blood pressure. So it's been about an hour. I saw quite a few questions come in, so I'm going to take the time to go through any questions that you guys might have. Feel free to drop them inside of the chat. If you have any questions also regarding part 1's challenge, the 7-day fruit and salad challenge, drop them in the chat as well, because I want to make sure you guys have everything that you need to continue on this journey. That way, you can get to the root cause of your blood pressure issues, because again, it's all about understanding what you can do. Most people don't realize how much control they have over these type of problems. The majority of blood pressure issues are lifestyle issues. The way you're living, how you're eating, you're sleeping, your stress levels, your relationships, are you exercising? Those are all lifestyle issues that you can improve upon. But it all starts by understanding your day-to-day habits, understanding your behavior. Are you living in a health promoting way, or are you just kind of going through your day, just doing whatever? Most people aren't doing anything. And this is how blood pressure issues start to manifest. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years of not doing a whole lot of nothing can create blood pressure issues. But once you start living in a health promoting direction, you improve your overall health, your blood pressure gets yourself back in check. And that's how you work your way off. Here we go. Any questions, drop them in. And we keep going. Seltzer salt has minerals that is beneficial. Yeah, it does have minerals that's beneficial. But the main thing is you don't want to rely on this type of stimulant, because although, it has, magnesium and other minerals inside of it that can help, it ultimately becomes a Band-Aid. And most people that do use it, they use it as a Band-Aid to help them with their blood pressure issues. But the ultimate goal is to get to the root cause of the problem and not have to rely on taking something to help us. We want to be able to get control of the issue through our natural day-to-day lives without looking outside of ourselves for a solution. So, as you're on your journey, it might help you to use it might be beneficial to use some of these items, but ultimately, no, your goal is to not to need anything, not to need any outside supplements, not to need any Celtic or Celtic salt, not to need any prescription pills. The goal is to be completely drug-free and just living in a way that just allows you not to even worry about your blood pressure. Here we go. Any other questions? Miss Karen Porter said, oh yeah, everything has become very salty as well as sugary. Yeah, when you start reducing these things out of your diet, everything changes. I got a small story real quick. I remember when my business, I had an apothecary, and I used to do deliveries every day. And I would do deliveries and dropping off, herbs and supplements to individuals back in the day. This is probably a couple years ago. And I had just eliminated like sugary snacks and candy and stuff from my diet. And I had went almost a year without trying any type of candy. And just so happened I had to stop at a gas station to get gas. And I never stop at the gas station. Or I never go inside of the gas station, because that's one of the biggest pitfalls. You go in the gas station, they got all the snacks and candies and stuff inside there. I stopped at the gas station and I picked up a small pack of bubble gum. I didn't need it. I saw it. I kind of wanted it. I knew I hadn't had candy in a while, but I got it anyways. So I got it, got back in the car. I popped it in my mouth, and all I tasted was chemicals. It tastes like a chemical factory erupted in my mouth, and my taste buds were like inflamed. The flavor was crazy to the point where I really had to go back in and get water and flush my mouth out, because I had no idea what happened. And you talking about a regular, I think if it wasn't Juicy Fruit, it was another one of those sweeter virgin bubble gums, but the little small 35-cent ones, whatever one it was. But it really overstimulated me, and that came from just a year of not having these things. And we have to understand that we go through our lives every other day eating these sweet stuff, and eating this or this processed item. So we don't understand how bad it changes our taste or how denatured these products is. But when you eliminate them for an extended amount of time from your diet, and then you try to reintroduce them in, it's like, yo, what is this? This is not what I knew it to be. But we start to understand how unhealthy these things are. And in a matter of a couple of days of just eliminating the excess amount of sodium and things from your diet, this will allow for you to actually see how these things can impact your health and how they alter your taste and perspective of certain things. So yeah, it definitely has an impact. What can we use in place of salt? I think I went over that one. I started using cayenne pepper or ginger, even fresh coconut cream. Yep, those are all good things to use. I have not received my email or material. Check your spam folder if you've signed up for the challenge and haven't received anything, because if you got the link for here, you probably you also got it inside of your email and things like that. Here we go. Also check your spam folder. Oh, everybody answering those questions. I appreciate y'all answering those questions. Thank you so much. Any other questions regarding the live sessions? Feel free to drop them in. I don't see too many of them. Yeah, I don't see too many of them that's in there. But again, it's really, really simple. We went over the same strategy. And again, the main thing is you want to make sure you're building and adding. So the same thing from the first challenge, those 3 to 5 servings of fresh fruits and a 1 large salad. And then you want to continue to add this strategy as well, eliminating or removing those problematic foods that we went down through the listing. So this has been our whole hour. We went through everything. We'll be live tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Eastern again to continue to break down. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about oils, and we're going to go deeper into the science behind oils, and this goes for all of the oil: coconut oil, avocado oil, flaxseed oil, grapeseed oil, olive oil, all of them. We're going to talk about how they have an impact on your overall health and blood pressure, and just understanding how to maneuver through those things to help you on this journey. And again, you're on a healing journey. This is a healing process. And you want to make sure that you're doing everything that's within your spectrum or within your control in order to get the results that you require. Many individuals have been seeing great improvements, and they only been in one challenge with one strategy. Continue through the process. It's a 6-week process. 6 weeks. What? I don't know how many days 6 weeks is. I forgot. But it's a 6-week process, and it's going to go by fast. And this is going to allow you to continue to get control and move better. And each week, we're going to be compounding strategies on top of one another. Next week, the next challenge is the Healing Fast Challenge. And the Healing Fast Challenge is all about how you can apply fasting to your diet and lifestyle in order to continue to accelerate your results. And this is just something else to add into it. And this is going to continue to compound and build your body up to get to where it needs. So these are all health promoting strategies that happen in here. These strategies start within you. You making a decision to change and get better will allow for you to actually reach your end goal, reach the results that you require. It all starts with a choice. Change happens when you make a choice, and without making that choice, you're not going to get those results. So I do appreciate each and every one of you for popping in. I see Tricia says, can you use kelp? Yeah, kelp is a good item to use. Just be mindful that I've seen some flakes that has a lot of added sodium to it as well. So be mindful of that, because kelp itself has a decent level, I'm not gonna say high, it has a level of sodium in it as well, being a sea vegetable, but you wanna make sure that it doesn't have any added sodium in it, but be mindful how you use it. You don't wanna overconsume it, because again, it can be overstimulating, because it's not just about the salt itself, but it's also about the sodium as a whole, because you could have something that's high in sodium and that still can impact your sodium levels, even though it doesn't have any salt inside of it. It's just a higher level of sodium. So just be mindful how you use it, and that's going to help you on your journey, but it's going to be something that's going to be fine as well. So I appreciate all you guys, for everyone for tuning in. We'll be live at 7:30 tomorrow. I'll send out another reminder email. That way, that way y'all get the notifications, and we can continue to break these things down. So we'll be here at 7:30. Peace and blessings. I appreciate you all, and take care.